Well, hello everyone. We are back. Welcome to Hathor Hosts with me, Suanne Braun. It is so lovely to see you all here. Just a couple of things. Tonight we have an amazing guest, and for those of you who are joining us perhaps for the first time, just to give you a little background about what this show is. I'm an actress, and during the first lockdown, all those many, many moons ago, I decided to come up with a show where I would interview fellow actors about their careers. The name Hathor Hosts comes from the role that I'm probably the most famous for, and that is Hathor in Stargate SG-1. There's been a lot of sci-fi love on this show, but it is not exclusively sci-fi. If you like what you see, please, please, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so that you can be the first to know. And we get really sort of down and interested and interesting, I hope, in actors' careers and what drives them and how we work and operate in this crazy world, particularly over the last year and a half. Once again, if you're new to the show, please can you hold your questions until the end, just because it's easier for us when it comes up on the screen. And I think that's the end of the housekeeping. So with that, I can't tell you how excited I am to welcome my guest this evening. We've worked together 3 times now, albeit on the same franchise. He is multi-talented and a delightful, gorgeous man inside and out. Whether he's playing a hardened criminal of London streets or a police officer after the Mexican drug cartel or a cute baker in a Christmas rom-com, he can do it all. Put your hands together for a great big virtual welcome and help me welcome the fabulous and gorgeous, talented Nick Sagar. Woo!
I love you. I love you so much. That's so good. This is incredible. So, that intro was amazing. I'm looking at this background and stuff now. This is amazing. I love what you're doing here.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being on the show. And the intro, I have to say, is thanks to the amazing people who watch the show, who came up with the videos and have done everything. They're just phenomenal. So the fan base and the support of the show has been amazing. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I love Egyptian history. So, I mean, we've talked about it many times on set.
Yeah.
Seeing some of this stuff, I was like, I don't know if they can see my face, but I was like, wow.
No, we couldn't see your face, but we can now. Oh, Nick, welcome to the show. I know we have a slight time constraint tonight because you're busy. Nick is in LA and in the middle of working and running off to all sorts of meetings and things. So we're going to press on and start at the beginning. I know very often, because I've been with you, when people hear you speak, they're really surprised that you're English. But you're a Londoner, ain't ya?
East London, love. East London.
That's right.
East London's finest.
Where did you grow up then in East London?
So I grew up in a place called Forest Gate, which is, so they had, I think, was it 2012, the Olympics was in Stratford? Yeah. Yes, so Stratford is like a stone throw away from where I grew up, Forest Gate. And it's funny because, yeah, that place changed. But yeah, I grew up there. I was there for like 21 years of my life.
Wow. And your family heritage, because I know you're a tight-knit family, you've got a really fascinating family heritage in that your mum is Jamaican and your dad Guyanese. So that, I think that is the coolest, most fantastic combination. Did you find that that has really helped you kind of not settle, but you must have a really unique perspective of the world because of that, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was more, I wouldn't say difficult. It was interesting growing up, especially having the influence of so many cultures, because when you're younger, I think you try more to fit in. So you kind of gravitate towards one more. But then as I got older, I learned more about the family history and more about the cultures. I saw it as this huge blessing to have all of these pots that I could draw from that was part of me. And it really was a blessing, especially, you know, in the type of career we're in. There's so much elements to the West Indian culture and being mixed of Black and Indian, and also like this Scottish way back, you know.
Yeah.
So there's all these wonderful little things that I'm like, oh, that's part of me. I can explore that culture too. So it was really nice. There was all these things I could draw from and feel related to and connect to people from, you know, different walks of life. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I can hardly see you. Can you come closer? Can you feel like you go? No, see your beautiful face. You were like, I'm over here.
Yeah.
Settling back in. That comes later. That comes in the second half of the show. That, as you said, that's fantastic because you've been able to kind of draw on those things, particularly with the career that you have ended up choosing. But what I want to know is what you were like as a young boy.
Sure. You sure you're ready for that? I mean, yeah, I was a cheeky little son. But very. Yeah, I was a cheeky little son. I mean, we come as a very outgoing family. You know,
Yeah.
It was very active, very. We was always together, with very music orientated. So I was very lively as a kid and active. I played a lot of sports, loved music. We danced a lot in my household. Played a lot of games, sometimes too much, and my mom would probably agree to that. She had more trouble controlling me and two of my brothers and my sister. But yeah, it was just extremely, very close, but still very it was exciting growing up. We had a lot of fun. Even though my dad was quite strict up until a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't until we got into the teenage years he sort of lifted the restrictions. And me, I didn't even know how to live then. I was like, wait, I can go out. I don't even know what to do outside. But even when we weren't really allowed to, you know, we stayed in quite a lot. But like me and my brothers and sisters, we'd play in the backyard. So my mum would have to drag us inside. We used to love playing with the animals and insects and exploring everything. We was very much outdoors, you know, climbing trees, playing football, inventing games, and we loved it.
Yeah.
So very, very active, very close-knit.
That's great because I think that really stands one in good stead. If I look at so often today, you know, kids are just on their phones, on their devices, and we didn't have any of that. So we had to go play outside, you know.
I remember when we got our first computer console, the Nintendo, the first one, with the Mario. And I remember one night, I always have this memory. My dad, when we first got the console, me and my brother could not get off of it. And like I said, he was strict, but not in a bad strict, you know. He was caring. He sent us to bed, and me and my brother went upstairs, and he said, "I'll make you hot chocolate." So me and my brother, this would be the only time we disobeyed my dad's word because he was very much, you don't play around with my dad.
Yeah.
And we went back downstairs and started to play with it while he thought we was in bed. We just was so excited for this console. We was like, you know what, we'll take it and in trouble. We don't care. We just want to I'll never forget, he came back in and he looked at us playing with the hot chocolates in his hand. And he just smiled and sat down, gave us hot chocolates, and let us play for another hour or so. I'll never forget that because I was like, wow, he just we looked at him like, oh, here we go. And he just sat down and let us play more, which was, you know, I hold that memory very dear.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. So where does your love of performing, acting come from then? Who in the family was the one responsible for introducing you to the arts?
Yeah, I think both of them. You know? I really think both. I mean, my dad is always, he loves Al Pacino. He is very much, and my mom too, they're very much movie lovers. You know, growing up around the house, they had pictures of the Rat Pack and Humphrey Bogart and all of those black and white legends were there. They loved black and white movies. And he really does have a great taste in films that I didn't learn later until I got older. But I think both of them, my mum was very much, you know, they're always putting on silly voices and playing characters, my aunties, my uncles. So it was just kind of there. We just kind of picked it up from them.
Yeah.
Both of them probably are heavy influences. And all of them. My older brother, Michael, was always with video cameras and like, yo, we're going to try this scene. We're going to try this scene. And he would use like me, my brothers, my uncles, anyone who would come. So I think all of us really.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because we don't realize like how those things affect us. I remember very clearly growing up in South Africa, and we didn't have television until 1978 or something. And we used to have a turntable, and my parents would get these amazing LPs with David Frost narrating like Christmas pantomimes. And I must have been all of 8 or 9. And I knew every word on those things. Like I knew what that was before I actually knew what pantomime was. And one of the characters was called Morgana, the evil queen. And I still to this day can remember, you know, her sort of, my name is Morgana. And then there would be so it's a similar thing, like entertaining each other around the
I mean,
fire or whatever.
Especially, you know, before all of this boom of technology. Really, that's most of the entertainment. Yeah, because I remember that. What is that? 4 stations on the English TV at that time. So it's like, you know, once you've seen it, you've seen it. So we really had to create these fun experiences at home, and that's what we did, which we
exactly. So you were busy as a young man. So there was the dancing, music, entertaining each other, little skits and things. How did that segue then into martial arts?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if our parents were just like, there's too many kids, get them out of the house. We need some time. But they put us in, not all at once, but they were very much supportive of stuff like after school classes.
Yeah.
So my dad did martial arts for a long time when he was younger. So they pushed us in real young. We started probably around 8, 9, all of us, and we got pretty far. We were studying Tang Sudo,
right?
And we studied for a while, and it wasn't. Yeah, they made us. We did a lot of stuff. I was doing piano lessons at one point, swimming, martial arts, football. And each time we'd get to it and be like, I'm not really into it no more. And the thing I loved about my parents is they never made us do something we didn't want to do. They'd try and, you know, persuade us to stay into it. But once they knew it was done, they'd say, okay, try and find something else, which I really thank them for later on in life. Because once I got to a place where I was like, I want to actually do a career I enjoy, I just said to myself, what do I enjoy? Because I had all of these things that I tried. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm going to go back to drama classes and maybe I'll try some martial arts. And I really thank my parents for that because, you know, I did have friends that I wouldn't say wasn't as fortunate, but, you know, they didn't get those type of experiences. And then they struggled a little bit finding what they loved when they got, you know, a little bit older.
And the martial arts thing is interesting because anyone who hasn't seen Nick, he's a phenomenal martial artist. Check out on his Instagram at Nick D for David Sagar. Not that it is for David. What is the D for anyway?
My dad's name, D1.
Ah, there you go. And there's some fantastic stuff of you doing martial arts on there. There you go. And so martial arts was obviously one that stuck because it is something that you still do now, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love it. I really enjoy it. We grew up, my uncle, my dad were huge martial arts kung fu movie fanatics. My uncle I'll never forget, he had the collection was like, it was like a library. He had all of those old 70s and 80s martial arts movies. And when we would go and stay with him, he would just show us all of them. Me and my brother would just reenact them all. Like you said earlier about, you know, listening to those records and tapes, we was the same with the martial arts. We recreated, and luckily we was quite athletic, so we picked up stuff very quickly.
Yeah.
yeah, being, you know, they love Bruce Lee and all of these. They were always around. Yeah, they were always around us as kids, and they were such great role models. We just couldn't help but like latch onto it.
And I'm certain that as you've gotten older, there must be lessons that martial arts gives you, if nothing else, just the discipline of being able to stick at something. You know, that's I so admire that when people are able to kind of have that rigorous discipline. Ballet dancers, martial artists, or any dancer really.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I stopped for years. We probably stopped around 12, 13, maybe that age. And then it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles. I was with my dad at the time, and we drove past this studio. It's a Taekwondo studio, and he teaches other martial arts as well. But my dad was like, you should go back in and start, because, you know, I just moved there. So me in my head was like, I'm coming to act, you know, just audition, you know, in 2 months I'll be Denzel Washington. But it didn't work out like that. But him telling me to go there was the best thing I ever did, because, you know, I ended up being here for a long time with not working too much, and having that martial arts to go to as an escape, as something else to charge my energy, give me something else to focus on. And it really did. Once I felt that love again, it really was almost a saving grace, because, you know, this auditions and meetings, it can beat you down, especially after a long time. It really can wear you down. Having that as an escape, it was incredible. And I could kind of take it into my own hands, because, you know, it reflects how much I trained would show in what I could do. So it wasn't something I had to wait, like with acting, for someone to say, hey, we're going to employ you, or stuff like that. I could take it into my own hands. So it was a great balance for me to have. Yeah.
So before we get to LA, because you went to Los Angeles at 21, which is so, I mean, I went at 25, and I kind of think I felt really young and out of my depth. So 21, but just before we go to how you went to LA, when you left high school, you didn't go into acting immediately. So your first job was a film called Gun Rush, right? With the fantastic Timothy Spall. What do you remember about that experience?
Oh, wow. This all comes back to me, you know? Yeah, you know, after high school, I went to college, and I did study performance studies there, but I didn't know it was a career for a person of my background, honestly, because the representation, it wasn't there. You know, you turn on the screens back then, and forgive me, is it Adrian Lester? What's his name? The really famous. Is that's his name, right? I didn't butcher it. Like, he was like one of the very few Black English people that was out there in this time. And forget about mixed. I didn't even see mixed people really represented. So I just didn't know it was a career. I didn't know it was something I could do, but I knew I loved it. So I studied it in college. And it wasn't until I went to university after college. I did 6 months in media, because my actual plan was, I was like, let me learn about the camera from behind so I can put my in front of it. But that didn't quite work out for the best. Thankfully. Anyway. For the best. I lasted 6 months, took most of that university loan, bought myself a flat screen TV, and never looked back. Then I was like, I'm gonna go back to acting, and that's when, you know, I met this manager who said, you know, and she was like, oh, the Gun Rush thing happened.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, that was my first real experience on a set, and then to be around. It's funny as well, because at that time, it'd been about a year or two where I just started to pursue it. And then I know Emil Amin and these other guys, they were starting to break in, and I was around them too. And it was fantastic. It was shot in South London, most of it. And it really gave me, like, I understood what went into making a movie or a production, because I hadn't before that. And I think for me, the best part of it is, I was like, because, you know, I was basically an extra, but I got to be like one of, I don't know what you would call it. There was like a gang. So whenever you would see the main member, I would do it. So it was a little more, I got to experience.
Featured extra, darling.
Yeah, you know, no, we was featured. So
They cottoned on early. They were like, he's got a good face. We'll stick him in.
But they, I noticed quickly because I saw what goes into it, and I was like, whoa, it's a lot. I mean, it's a career that's wonderful and very glamorous, but it's a lot. You know, it does take a lot to do, especially in the different conditions you shoot in, and working with, you know, all these different people, and having to really bring your A game every time. But I knew from then, I was like, man, I want part of this.
So how is it that you then pack up and head off to LA alone? I mean, that's so scary and so brave.
It was shortly after that I joined like this. I didn't want to go to drama school. I loved the idea of it. I really did, and I wanted to go. I had experienced the school scenarios for most of my life. It was all I knew was, you know, school, college, and I just didn't want to be in that environment. I didn't feel like I was giving my all there. So I had joined this like drama school outside of, it was like this extracurricular thing. It was the money thing. It worked, it helped. It was kind of pricey, but they would put you in front of, they would teach, they had classes, they had this was the best part of it. They had Anna Ostergren. She had graduated from Lambda as a director, and she was phenomenal. Wow. Like she really, because she was teaching a bunch of kids, and I was one of the oldest ones in the class. It was really for younger people, but she knew her stuff. She made sure we knew like the classics, and there was no like, she was like, I'm going to show you what it really is to be an artist. And I loved learning under her. But I joined that school. I was with them for a while, and then they had this presentation that they do every year or so in LA, because they were affiliated to schools here. So we got the opportunity to fly over here to audition in front of managers. And it was kind of like an X Factor type setup with us. Yeah, and it ended up, it worked pretty well for me. I met, you know, a few people. I spoke with a manager there who was really interested in me, and he was like, you know, you should consider moving out here.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm ready. And it was difficult. It took 2 years for me of going backward and forward to get my paperwork. But I always knew, it was weird. Even as a kid, I used to say to my parents, I'm going to live in Los Angeles.
Really?
I pranked my dad. Like, I used to be in this b-boy street dance crew, and I pranked my teacher one time. And I was like, oh, my family's moving to Los Angeles next week. I won't be able to do the final performance. And they were all like, oh no, how can you leave us right now? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm only joking, but I'm glad to see you can believe it. I ended up moving like years later. I know I was all, maybe I was just called to come over. I just loved the look of it, you know, and not really the movie part of it. It was like the sunshine, the palm trees. I love I love the weather, and I do love England. I think it's amazing, but the weather is hard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, telling me I'm from South Africa and then lived in LA for 10 years and then came here, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Although it's been beautiful today. It's like 30 degrees today, but you know,
obviously
that's not normal.
England in the summer is one of the best places in the world. It really is. There's nothing like it. We just need some more sun.
Exactly. So you move over, you're young, but it allows you, I think, to sort of hone in what you really want to focus on what you really want to achieve, and to really kind of go to classes, do your martial arts, keep going. And your first acting credit in LA is a pretty good one, because you end up guest starring on NCIS Los Angeles. I mean, how was that with LL Cool J?
Yeah, you know, I remember seeing him in the parking lot, and I'm a huge hip-hop fan, you know.
Me too.
Yeah, my brother was a DJ, so we was immersed in the culture, and I was a huge fan of LL growing up. So I remember as I walked in on that first day, and I saw him walking across the parking lot. He was really nice as well, man. He was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like, "It's like, yo, that's LL Cool J." But yeah, he was lovely, and it was that little nerve-wracking at first because I was like, "Oh, this is America and this is this huge, show." But I was just so excited to be there. So excited.
I think also sometimes it can be really daunting when you guest star on a show that's so established, because they're all like this. We've talked a lot about that on this show, kind of guest stars coming into a tight-knit cast who've been together for a long time, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm the new guy. And how was that for you on that job?
Which has happened to me a few times, actually. Yeah. I feel like I'm always the new guy. It was okay on that one because I was lucky enough to get to meet. Wait, was it that one? Yeah, I think it was that one. My manager got crossed up with them. I actually missed the replay.
Right.
I didn't actually get to meet everyone. I was lucky to meet LL that day, but my scene was separate from like their thing. But it was definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet. But you proved your worth. And then you had a situation where, for various reasons, you ended up back here in the UK for like 2 years because you had a passport, unfortunately, that was stolen, retrieved eventually. You were kind of stranded here, but with family. But it's during this time that you ended up performing in the incredible Ill Manners, which I had heard quite a lot about, but was always like, this is how out of touch I am. I was like, when I saw the posters for it, I was like, is that a comedy troupe? But it doesn't look like a comedy because, all the guns. But I watched it in anticipation for this, and bloody hell. I mean, it's pretty hard hitting. Written and directed by Plan B. You get to work with the amazing Riz Ahmed and opposite your fantastically talented brother, Sean. So tell us a little bit about how this amazing job came your way.
Yeah, it's so funny that job spanned over the period of 5 years.
No, really?
Yeah, so I grew up, I went to school with Ben's brother, Rupert.
Right.
We were all like, our neighborhood, everyone kind of knew each other. Everyone was close. We knew older brothers, we knew sisters. It was like this village feel in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And, Ben was super talented. So when we got to, I don't know, maybe 16, we used to go watch his shows when he was starting out before he became, before he really blew. And he was amazing. Just is a gifted artist on so many different levels. And I remember when he started writing the film, he'd said to another friend of mine, was like, yo, I want to use that guy in the film. And he was like, oh, he actually acts, like he does acting. He was like, okay, well, keep me posted. It was still a couple years. It's funny, when I moved here, it got off. I auditioned before I moved. It disappeared for like a year or two. I moved here. I got a call out of the blue. Can you audition for this role? I happened to be back that time. Then it took another 2 years.
Wow.
Something like that. Then I ended up filming it while I was in those periods of being backward and forward. And then it released just when I got caught that time in the UK. But it was a process of, it took Ben a couple years.
Yeah.
Because he was so heavily involved with it. He wrote it, he did all the music, he shot a short before.
Yeah.
I was very, very blessed. And then it was all shot in our home neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, there's scenes, that's my secondary school right in the background. That's the nice street. We were shooting. I'd be like, to my barber, he was there. It was like shooting in the house. Family was pulling up. My mom would be on. My friends were there. It was amazing. It was such a fun experience. And
your character, Marcel, though, is nothing like you. Quite scary. How the hell did you prepare to play him? Like, what did you draw on to create this character?
You know what? So as much as our neighborhood was this nice, it was like Jekyll and Hyde, our neighborhood. It really was kind of like exactly how he represented in the movie. From the outside looking, it just looks like this normal thing. But back then, it was a lot of crime. And when I said that period of where I kind of I'd lost interest in some of my passions. I started to hang around in gangs and not in like a threatening way. We just, we all kind of just congregated together because we had so much in common. We was this, this was the new generation, and all of these friends understood what it was like to look up, and you know, we all wanted to look at careers that we wanted to do, but these roads and these paths weren't necessarily there. We didn't think. So it was me more, and I wouldn't say giving up, but I kind of lost hope for my passions and stuff. And I did get involved in a lot of stuff back then that, you know, I was a kid and we did some naughty stuff.
Yeah.
But it was always, I for that role, I drew a lot on people I knew growing up in the neighborhood and parts that I'd actually, it was funny enough that I actually lived myself. So yeah, I like it. It was tough, you know. You really knew you had to know how to defend yourself and protect your own, because you know the neighborhood was rough. You know, there was robberies. You'd just be. I remember just walking to school, and when I was younger, you know, guys trying to pull up to rob me and having to be able to defend myself. You know, sometimes more successful than others.
Yeah.
And it just toughens you. You become, you know, you have to develop this side. And I think Marcel was actually, there's a part of me in there that you know, that I had to become in order to survive, in order to make sure as well that I wasn't targeted. You know, no one wanted to be a victim in those neighborhoods. Because once you was known as a victim, it was like, that was it. It was a torrid time for you. But the good thing about us when we congregated is like we made it safe for each other. Like we wasn't the types, you know, and I know you see on the news and it's like, oh, gangs and, you know, they just want to go out and cause trouble. We was really just trying to create something where we could protect each other and look out for each other's back, because nobody had our backs.
Yeah. Well, it was such a surprise, because of course I've seen your career the other way around, because I met you on The Princess, which we'll get to, but it was amazing. It was revelatory and such a great performance. I mean, all of you, you're all so unbelievably strong in it. Were you surprised by the response that the film had?
I knew from Ben's vision. I was surprised, because we couldn't see. He put the music in after. So while we were shooting the whole movie, it was like we never knew what music on the original was with it. So we knew
also, like, rap musical, you know, you're like, really?
No, exactly. But I knew him, and I knew like his music and what he puts out, so we trusted him wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I was like, this is definitely I knew it would be good and resonate with people, but I didn't know it would, you know, do what it did. Because it really, I mean, Ed Skrine, who's a good friend as well, it really, you know, it launched and helped elevate all of us. You know, my brother, there's a few other people on there as well. It's really helped elevate. So it was a blessing.
Good. And it still holds up today, I think, you know, from, what was it, 2012? And it's still as fresh, as good, as relevant.
I can't believe it's been that long.
So I wanted to ask you what it was like working with your brother, because I read this great quote, I think, from him, where he was like, yeah, it's great, you know, we're all like dance and chatting backwards and forwards until I take Nick's food, and then it's all bets are off.
No, it was especially for the first like real big production that I would be involved in. It was nice to have him there as well and have him involved, because, you know, he's only 2 years younger than me, so we was kind of like, and we looked a lot alike when we was younger, so we got into that twins category. So we was used to sharing everything anyway, but having them there and the family and stuff, it just makes you, you know, you're calmer, you're able to be yourself more. And then you got people around you who, you know, if I ask an opinion, I know he knows me. So if I'm talking about something character-wise, because we grew up in the same neighborhood, we knew the same people, we was drawing from the same influences. So I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, yeah, that would be good. So it was such a blessing to have him there. And Sean's amazing, man. He's just a funny guy. He's a live wire. So his energy, having him around, you know, it just, we bounce off each other really well. He's right, though. Don't touch my food.
I'm glad I never tried.
No, you can. You can.
I can. Thank you. Now, you and I have had several chats on set about kind of karma, and I know you're a big believer, as am I, in kind of manifesting things that you want, and also kind of believing that everything happens for a reason. And it was so fascinating kind of researching your career, because you talked a lot about it took a long time to get going. It was like 8 to 10 years, and it was like this constant no, 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 as we know in our industry. And then you booked this film, and it was all exciting, and then the film got cancelled 2 weeks later. But that belief that you had, my God, did that stand you in good stead? Because shortly thereafter, you booked not 1, not 2, but 3. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 3 phenomenally successful shows, which you were on pretty much simultaneously, that have changed the path of your career. And they are Shadowhunters, Queen of the South, and of course, Tyler Perry's The Haves and Have-Nots. So let's dive in and chat about Shadowhunters first. You played Victor Aldertree, the high-ranking Clave official. You were fantastic. Tell me a little bit about the audition for that show.
Yeah, you know what? So it actually came, just like you said, after that period of being in England, being stuck. Long story short, I finally got back to LA, and it was just a pilot season. And I got with my manager, who I am now, Elena, and they bombarded me with, like, it was amazing. This was, I mean, I had auditions before, but it was like 4 a day. It was a lot. And I remember getting so close on so many of these projects, like the one that happened and then it fell through. But it was 4 months of just, I was burnt out. I was burnt out. And then it was the Tyler Perry one that happened first that led to the Shadowhunters one. But I remember that after that Tyler Perry one came, and I met him and we did the show, and there was a piece of me that was able to relax. Because I hadn't really booked anything substantial that I could live off for a long time. I mean, practically ever. So walking into the Shadowhunters room, I was like, this show is amazing, and this, you know, I'd love to be a part of it. But there was a calmness in me. Because financially, I was like, oh, I don't have to be like, oh, this would be so nice, so you can't help but sometimes be like, oh, I can really take it right now, And I remember going in, and originally I auditioned in American. And it's funny enough, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I left, and it was a good audition, and I left my sunglasses in the room, as you do, living the LA life. And I was like, oh, sorry, I left my sunglasses. And they said, like, wait, you put on the sheet that you're English. I was like, yeah. And they were like, when you come back in, do it in English. We'd like that for the producers. Now, when I went back in and did it in English, they would like, oh, you have to read alongside Dom because he's playing American, he's English. And, it was just meant to be the way it happened. And then getting on that, it was they were very lovely in that office. They really were. I felt so comfortable. But then going into that, I was a new person joining into this successful show, and was like, and they welcomed me with open arms, even though I was playing a bit of a weasel.
Well, what was interesting, Weasel, but I mean, he has a really terrific arc, because we kind of see when he fell in love with is it Eva, her name, the woman, and then like how he eventually he's not such a good guy. Was this the first time that you actually had an opportunity to create a character with such a brilliant arc?
Yeah.
And how did you find that? I mean, how do you like to do that? Do you have a kind of set way of working, or do you let it kind of unravel bit by episode, or?
I think it depends on what we're doing on the project, which I'm sure you know as well. With TV, sometimes they don't know where your character is going to go over the span of. They have an idea, but it shifts, episode to episode. Luckily, there's incredible books that I was able to draw from, which they didn't have too much about Victor Aldertree, which was also a blessing too, because I could kind of create what I wanted, or what I thought would, go along with the material of the books. So I had that, and then the writers and the creators were incredibly open, and we would have conversations, and they told me from the start where they wanted me to kind of go. And it was, yeah. I kind of episode to episode, I would do like, glass 75% full, and then let them give me some, like, okay, I can move with this, I can do that. So yeah, I'd create as much as I can going forward. Oh, apologies. And then I turned that on silent.
Is that your mum?
I wish. I'm actually going to call her after. Yeah, no. So yeah, I would take what they would give me episode to episode and just run with it.
Yeah. And are you into that genre at all? Or
yeah.
Yeah?
Oh,
you are?
I'm huge. I love fantasy, sci-fi, all of it. I'm the biggest, absolutely adore it.
And the fan base for this show is like, I mean, I think sci-fi has massively loyal fan base, but Shadowhunters, I've never seen anything like it. It's insane, the level of like love and devotion that people have for the show.
Yeah,
were you aware of that?
I didn't know, not before I went onto it. And then I had the kind of hint when I got the role. They were like, don't say nothing, don't post nothing, you have to wait for us to announce. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty big deal. And then when it did announce, it was like this wave of, and the Shadow fam, they are incredible. They are wonderful. Yeah. They are really, really wonderful. Because, even though my character caused a lot of drama for some of their favorites, which was funny when I was reading it coming in, because they didn't know if I was going to be good or bad. So at the beginning, they were all like, and they were always sweet, even when they knew he was a bit of a, he was challenging. They would still say nice stuff, which was incredibly wonderful of them. But it was funny because I was watching it and I'll be like, I don't know if you're gonna like me after you read that. Everything changes after that.
I'm going to have to kill you now, so you're not going to like me anymore.
Exactly.
And the tats that you had on your neck, they were like amazing and epic. So how long were you in the makeup chair for that every day?
Yeah, they not that long. They had this system of like they had them created. So like with the gum, like chewing gum back in the day, you put some water on it and then you peel it off and it's there. It was kind of like that stuff. But the wonderful thing is they let me choose where I wanted to place it. So they showed me the whole book of runes and they were like, which ones speak to you? We're going to use this. They showed me some they thought. And I was like, oh, this, and this. And they were like, where'd you want them? And I was like, well, we got to go on the neck.
Exactly. Yeah,
always wanted the neck tat, yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite sort of, it's because it looks almost like a claw in a hand. There's something very, I don't know, powerful, also quite scary about that, I think.
Yeah, it was so much fun getting to choose those runes and which one I wanted to put in places. It was so much fun, so much. And then I as a kid, like I said, when I was dabbling in that world, I almost got a neck tattoo at one point.
Oh,
I almost did. I remember the phone call with my friend. It was that day we was gonna go get a neck tattoo, and I was gonna get a gold tooth. I'm glad I didn't do it, but we almost did it.
Time, Nick.
The first time I got the opportunity to get a tattoo, I was like, you better put down my neck.
You were like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, no, I was. And then, that's the fun thing about this career too, is you get to live so many different lives.
Yeah.
And still go home to, who you are as well. So that was the wonderful thing, is those were things I was interested in, but I didn't want to commit to a neck tattoo for my whole life.
No, God. Yeah,
yeah, no, exactly. And could you imagine in Princess Switch them having to...
Kevin has entered the dark side. And so from the world of Shadowhunters and Downworlders to the underworld of the Mexican drug cartel and your fantastic turn on Queen of the South, my husband and I binged the entire series during the first lockdown. And literally every time you'd come on, we'd be like, yay! It's Nick! I think I sent you a WhatsApp going, it's Nick!
Yeah, I remember when you said it to me.
So tell us a little bit about that process of becoming Detective Alonzo Lawyer.
That was wonderful. I mean, as you know as well, it's so fun to play different styles and different genres, and that was like really great. I mean, I grew up, I love fantasy and all of these things, but I loved the action heroes of like the 90s and the 80s.
Yeah.
I was huge Jackie Chan's, Bruce Lee's, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, like Wesley Snipes. I loved, Van Damme. I watched their movies religiously, and I loved.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to creep around my house and pretend to be a cop and do all of those, like, I was always living in that fantasy world. So when I actually got to do it, it was so much fun. With the, being part of the DEA and the uniform and the badge. And I had to remind myself sometimes leaving there that, you have to, when you're leaving, we are not DEA, you need to just tune out of that before you get yourself in trouble. Because you'd leave and I'd be like, I feel this power. I'm going to go arrest somebody today. It was fun though. And then the show was incredible. I already joined the moving train, and it was already successful. The first season was great. Fantastic cast, and once again incredibly open and inviting when I came in, and I was just so grateful to be joining.
And there seems to be a real genuine chemistry between everyone on the set. Like I really felt that. There's a real connection, for want of a better word. Was that an instantaneous thing when you joined them as well? Did you feel that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
They were just nice people, very much invested in the project, and I was too. And I think when you have people who are really passionate about the project, that's always a good start, because it's like, we love the art, so we can share and explore and do these wonderful things that we do. And they just, going into the second season too, there was a lot of anticipation. The fan base was starting to build up, so there was this excitement as well. And some of the stuff they had planned, we were just always so excited to get involved.
Where did you guys shoot that?
Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I basically lived in Dallas over the period for a year. Over the period of 2 years, 6 months. Yeah. Which was another thing, was like, I didn't imagine living, you moved to LA to work in LA, and I ended up spending more time in Atlanta and Dallas and Toronto and these other places, which is wonderful, because I'm getting to see the world as well.
Exactly. Travel is a great part of what we do. Even during the pandemic, we've been lucky enough to travel, although it's been different, but it is a wonderful thing and a great perk of the job.
No, it is. Absolutely.
One of the things I love about Queen of the South is that it's got such a strong women at its helm. And I wanted to know what it was like working with the fabulous Alice Braga and, of course, Veronica Falcon, who is just, oh my God, I love her. I love her. I'm like, I want to be that when I grow up.
It was incredible. Like I was a fan of Khaleesi before.
Yeah.
From watching her in City of God, I Am Legend, I was a little bit like, oh my God, I'm getting to meet her. I was a huge fan of City of God. And then Veronica as well, from watching the first season, I was like, wow, she's a powerhouse. And I ended up clicking with both of them. And like I said, it was just a privilege to work around these wonderful people. But they were amazing. Amazing. Like, I remember listening to them in the read-through and just being like,
thinking, oh my God, I got to step up my game.
Yeah, I'm looking up. Okay, my line's coming.
I know, that's weird, isn't it? That thing, it doesn't go away. I did a table read recently, and exactly that. I was like, oh my God, it's getting closer. It's getting closer to me. It's getting closer to me. And then you're like, oh my God, I've only got one line here. I'm going to screw it up. I'm
like, they're reading the whole script. You just got this one. I got this one segment that comes in on like page 24, and I'm just like, whoo, can we not forget this one?
What would you say was the biggest kind of lesson that you took from that show, if any?
So many. It was probably getting to collaborate with, because there was a lot of Spanish in the show too. A lot of Spanish speaking, which I had just started learning at the time. I'm still not the greatest at it, but it was just seeing how far we could go with, how much you want to take, because I was like really interested in learning the language and the nuances. And there was even parts where they gave me certain Spanish. It didn't make the final cut of the episode, but there was a part where I had some like Spanish speaking stuff, and I was actually surprised. I was like, oh, that came out pretty well. So it was more just the challenge of, seeing them in season 1 and being like, wow, this is amazing. Don't mess that shit up, Nick.
Yeah.
So getting to go in there and work with these, powerhouses and kind of like, feel confident in what I was doing was a huge, huge thing for me, because I took that away like, oh, I can, I can hang with these people. So, I have something to offer,
I'll say, baby. And so I didn't realize that Tyler Perry's The Haves and Have-Nots came first, even though we're covering it last. But great. Again, I mean, you play this wonderful president-elect, Obama-esque, only in the fact that he's president-elect, love interest to Candace. Tell me what Tyler Perry experience is like, because he is just the most amazing man. Writer, director, showrunner, like,
No, he's on top of that, he's a great human. He is, and probably most importantly, he's a great, great human. Like, oh man, I remember meeting him and just, because at first it was like, whoa, this is Mr. Perry. And I went to the studio before the one now, and it was still amazing. I walked in, I just saw what this guy had done, off his own back, this empire that he'd created when no one believed what he could do. So inspiring, so inspiring. And he really is an inspiring person. He straight away there was like an almost comfortableness of like, oh wow, he's talking to me like a friend. I don't feel like I'm on a job interview right now. There was this nice, warm human quality about him, and he's a really, really great guy, extremely hardworking, and he just wants to help. He's just, I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, it's really weird. I mean, I don't know him at all, but I was aware of him, but not nearly as much until the sort of run up to this. And I spent so much time looking, and then I got like obsessed. I mean, he's just remarkable. What a great, great guy, and how lovely to hear that he's a nice man too.
No, he really is. Like, honestly, he's just incredible. I mean, yeah, because he'll always be a wonderful, special person. He gave me my first real job in America, so it's like, he saw and believed in me, and then we'd have chats where he was like, his belief was something I kind of needed, because it'd been like 10 years, and I knew in myself, I was like, I think I can do this, and having someone kind of validate that too, who's in a position of, of merit, is like, it really helped me. It really did.
Yeah. And then, of course, the show airs on Oprah's own network, and you have quite the Oprah story. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I didn't even know. They had just moved to the new studio, like I said, which now it's like his studio is phenomenal. But we were shooting the scene. It was just after a very intimate scene between Charles and Candace. And I was laughing with Tika, and I felt the room behind me. It was like, because the film set, there's a lot of noise in between, and I was like, wait, things just went quiet. And then I slowly started to hear, oh, hey, Mrs., hey, I can't remember if they said Miss Winfrey or what, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I turned around and I was like, ooh, that is Oprah. She had come in the room and said hello to Tyler, and he was really good, and she knew Tika already, and she was like, he was like, this is the new guy, Nick. I was topless at the time.
Well, she must have been happy about that.
And I was like,
hi. Was there heavenly choir? Hi, it's Oprah.
Probably going on in my head. But yeah, she was incredibly sweet, and she said hello. She actually came back after the scene too. She watched it and was like, oh, I really enjoyed watching that. And I was like, not that. I mean, now I met you twice in one day. I don't even know what to do now. I was so charged. I called my mom, everyone.
Wow. Yeah, that is a very, very cool thing. Not many people can say that they've had high praise from Oprah, particularly without their clothes on, or half it.
Very blessed. It was very blessed.
Well, speaking of blessed, actually, you always reference gratitude in your interviews and your chats, and I love that about you. And obviously, knowing you, I know that it's a genuine thing. Where does that attitude of gratitude come from? Like, have you always had it?
It's my family. It's my mom and dad and my family very much. They life lessons my family gave. As I got older, I was just so grateful for them because they managed to help us dream, but keep us very grounded and always be thankful for what we had. Because like I said, we grew up in a neighborhood where it was so vast. You'd have people who were doing okay for themselves and people who were really struggling. And as a family, we went through both ends of the spectrum. There was periods where we were thriving, and then there was periods where it was like really hard. But my parents were always so good at just keeping us grateful, remembering what we had. And so long as we laughed and had a lot of fun in my house, but so long as we had like a roof over our head, meals, and we could survive, we was very grateful for that, because we knew, especially coming from different countries and these places, we have family, we have friends, we have people we know whose situations they just always, kind of helped us to stay grounded and not get lost in, which is nothing wrong with. It's the, society where so much things are put there that we can't help. But I want that, or I'd love to experience that, which is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But constantly being in a place of wanting and needing something to feel what we think is happiness can lead to, not being happy. And having them there to realize, like, wait a minute, we're happy, we laugh, we have fun, there's meals on the table, and we still have the opportunity to go after what we want if we apply ourselves. So I was like, it's up to us. My dad always say, he was like, yeah, I just gave you like the pencil, you lot sharpened it. He would always say stuff like that. So it's my family. Everything I seriously owe to them.
I love that. Thank you. Now, I realize we've talked for almost an hour. I have a few questions. Can we keep going?
Yeah, let's keep
going. Brilliant. So your career basically has just kind of took off in 2017 and shows no signs of slowing down, thankfully for us. And in 2019, you got to play Russell Rogers, also known as Rip Roar, in the comic Supergirl. Was that a blast? I mean, superhero.
Yeah, that was. And I mean, like I just said, I love action and the superhero world. And
I'm so excited. I just scribbled my water. Sorry. Literally just went all the way down to the
it was a blast. It really was. I got to go in there and play. It was such a fun story too, to play like the two characters. And then I got to go into where they create a lot of the superheroes for the Disney stuff. And I got to see, with the Iron Mans and the Marvel stuff. And they even do, I think they did DC, some of the DC stuff. They were all there. Like, I was in awe. I was in awe, and then getting to the set and meeting everyone, and it was incredible. And then that was the other side of Canada. So Shadowhunters, I was in Toronto. This time I was in Vancouver. It was just blessings. I'm very, very grateful to travel to these places. People welcome you with open arms into these wonderful productions. That's another one that had an incredible fan base, and it was fun. It was so much fun. Yeah, it really was. I want to do more action.
Yeah. Oh, you have to do something where you can use your martial arts and
no, I've been putting it out there. I'm working on my own stuff at the minute to try and get it. I'm giving it all I got.
Good. I know it'll happen because I know you. You'll put it out there and it'll happen. Speaking of Disney, I was very surprised to discover that you are a massive Disney lover. I love that.
Huge. I bought my sister's 25th birthday. I bought her the entire Disney film collection. So she had every movie. But low key, I bought it because I was like, when I come home here, we are watching that together. Because when you know, me and my brother were very active, typical boys, you know, sports, all that. When my little sister was born, we was all happy to have a girl in the house. We just all adored her, brothers, everything. She got the lion's share of the gifts from everyone. You know, my dad as well. He'd buy her VHSs and Disney movies and all of those Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven. And me and my brother were like, you know, in evening time when it was TV time and we'd pop in a cassette, we just fell in love with it through her. You know, she'd be watching it and we'd walk in and be like, oh, Pip, what are you watching? Oh, is that Sleeping Beauty? I guess I could stay for 5 minutes, you know, like next minute the fairies are making the cake, you know, we're involved.
Bobbity boo.
Yeah, exactly. Cats, just Sword in the Stone, like.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you know, they were wonderful worlds. They created these wonderful, rich, magical worlds. As a kid, you're just like, I used to try and climb in the TV after when I didn't quite understand what the TV was. I was like, I must be able to get in here somehow. I want to meet Archimedes. No,
I see it. I can see Disney prince or villain actually, but I think Disney prince in your future. I think we need to make that happen for sure.
It'd be fun to play both.
Oh yeah.
Maybe in different things, but yeah, I would love to that would, because you know, even watching Aladdin, like I love Aladdin. Love Aladdin. I also love Jafar, you know, because he's just like the greatest villain ever. Even in Lion King, Scar was amazing. You know, Disney were very good at making a villain who was like still likable as this really bad villain.
Yeah, exactly.
I do resonate more. I was always on the hero side. But it's fun with what we do to, you know, to be able to say, hey, you know, playing a villain's really fun too.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to be able to do both, isn't it? It's really nice to be able to, although I do like playing the villain, I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Maybe more so before Twitter, because the villains get off market on Twitter.
Well, speaking of princes and princesses, we come to the job where we met, the Princess Switch franchise. Are we a franchise now? Because there are 3 of them, so I guess we are.
I mean, that's what people are calling them, you know. That's
We're in our own franchise.
Franchise baby.
So I want to know how the role of Kevin came your way.
It was the perfect timing. I was on the 3rd season of Queen of the South. They had just told me that they were going a different direction in the next season. They were very, you know, wonderful about it. They gave me a load of time, and I was like, great. I was in Dallas at the time. I got a phone call that, you know, there's this movie, and the director, Mike, as you know, he had suggested me because I worked with him on Shadowhunters.
That's right.
I was like, you know, as a firm believer of like, you know, meant to be in right place at right time. And I remember working with Mike too on Shadowhunters, and all the directors were amazing, but we clicked. He's phenomenal, as you know. I remember him coming up and giving me a few ideas to play with, and I'm being like, oh yes, I want to try that. He's just amazing. Amazing. So when I heard he, you know, had put my name forward, and then it was with Vanessa, and then I read it, and I saw, as soon as I read it, I felt what this possibly could be. Yeah. You know, I was like, if this is done, this could be really fun. You know, really fun family, like just a warm-hearted, good time. You know, just a festive, wonderful thing that families and everyone could enjoy together. And lo and behold, it really did become that. Especially
completely. Oh, you're in demand.
No, I put you on silent. Jeez.
Hold on, we'll phone back. Almost done. Were you surprised at the success of the film? Because I certainly was.
No, not. I'll be honest with you. Once I met you all, because I remember I came a week late too.
Yes, I remember. We were all like, when's he getting here? When's he getting here? And then you came. And for everyone watching, I want to tell you, it was a hot summer's evening. We were in Romania. And everyone was like drenched, you know, like big mosquitoes flying around. We were all having a cocktail on the patio. And then it was like you walked in slow motion. I just remember everyone turning around and all the women kind of going, oh my. Oh, I say, Kevin's. Well, Nick. Anyway, sorry.
I think it was just a hot Romanian night. I just happened to come at the right time.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, all right, Nick. So you weren't surprised by? I mean, obviously Vanessa has massive success, and rightfully and deservedly so. She's phenomenal. But I was kind of surprised at like the level of like people love this film.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised on like, how quickly and how much spread. But I just saw. I remember, seeing the names involved, meeting you all, getting to see all of us work, and being like, "Whoa, this is like," because we was having fun even when we wasn't shooting.
Yeah.
That's why it became like such a family, because we in this small town, it was just like, and everything was so close together. It was just like fun. It was like being in school or college, because you'd leave set and walk 10 meters over here, and then you bump into the rest of, and you're having fun over here. And I think that kind of, with that movie, it worked, and it showed on screen.
Yeah.
And Vanessa was just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible what she's built, how she works, and the level she puts into it. So having that at the top with Mike too, trickling that energy down, was like, it was perfect. But I was surprised, and when it really, really hit, I was like, whoa. I mean, I knew it had potential.
Yeah. I think I absolutely agree. And I think that when it starts at the top and like your number one on the call sheet is phenomenal. And I mean, like, we have worked in some extreme weather conditions on this film, because the first one we were shooting in midsummer, 35 degrees Celsius in winter jumpers and coats. The second one and the third one we shot in Scotland in the middle of winter. So no acting required for the freezing bits. But we had obviously rain and wind and snow. And I was so impressed at how everyone, but mainly because I think everyone took the lead from Vanessa, just kind of kept their chin up. And, we kind of all got through it together as a family.
Yeah, no, you said it right there. Because looked at Vanessa, and she was, what she had, one day off in all the shoots, 1-2 days in like every one of the shoots, and she's playing 2-3 characters on set every day, hours. Not a complaint comes out of her mouth. Just smiles and wonderful energy. Beautiful mums there, and it's just, it really does trickle down. And I think as well, it had a well-rounded set of people who believed and operate in the same way that she does too. So we all kind of bounced off each other. I mean, it's, even saying it now, it makes me a little emotional, that especially we just finished 3, and you could have quite happily, I could have quite happily did those just to be around the family for the rest of my life.
Really,
it was that much fun.
Yeah.
I remember when number 2 was announced that we would coming back together, and then when we did, I mean, the times, it's just priceless.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
Just like rich, warm memories every time, which is a blessing too, because one of them, as the world was going through this, what we're going through and coming out of now, one of them was during this, and we were still able to come together, make each other smile, be there for each other, have fun, and and stuff like that. I'm very grateful.
No, I absolutely agree and completely echo everything you're saying. And I remember actually when we were shooting the second one, and you had to fly to New York for like a day or 2 days to shoot the pilot for what is now your new show, Run the World.
And see again, which was like, it's love for the Princess Switch team, because they let me do that, and it was risky, because when I came back, the connecting flight didn't time out. So
that's right. They drive you, didn't they?
Landed in Heathrow, missed the flight, was meant to be on set 8 a.m. I landed at like 10, and then they sent 2 wonderful drivers who we had a blast driving down. But I got to Edinburgh and then jumped straight in the transpo to go to set.
I remember because I was coming up the lift from somewhere, and you were like, and I was like, "Oh, you're back," and you were like, "Yeah, I've literally just landed, and I'm going to."
I remember. Yeah, I remember that one. Oof. Then you know that. Then I got on. I remember feeling like a zombie all the way until I got up to the set, and then you're around the people, and you know, you love them and their energy, and you just forget it. You know, you just like, oh, let's do this, and then later we crashed, but I still remember hanging out that night.
Yeah.
You know, it was that much fun. You know, when we come off, it was like, oh, everyone was going to meet downstairs and chill. And it's like, you didn't want to miss those opportunities because it was like, it was so much fun. You know, it was such good people.
Yeah,
honestly.
Absolutely. And thankfully that you did get to go and do it, because you shot the pilot, which has now become your new series, Run the World, which you haven't had a chance to see. But everything I've read about it, it sounds right up my alley. It's sort of like a Sex in the City with 4 fantastic, gorgeous, strong Black women just kicking butt in the city.
They are. I mean, because I'm again
beautiful. Oh my God! There's not like literally. I was like, really? How beautiful are these women? And they can all act.
Yeah, because I'd come in and go out as a guest recurring, but even watching the episodes, and I'm talking really, even the ones I'm not involved in, I watch them and I'm like, yo, these girls are incredible. Yeah, they're funny. It's just it's perfect. I'm actually, you know, in awe of a lot of stuff they've done. Watching one of the episodes that just passed, and it's like, yo, this, because it's needed to, especially from, you know, our culture. We haven't really had a lot of feel-good shows where we could just celebrate, especially recently. You know, we tell a lot of one side of the story, which is cool, but we do want to see some other stuff as well, which is some feel-good, light-hearted, you know. We want to see those vibes too, and I really think they're bringing it really well, and it's such a pleasure to be involved in that show. And then to get to shoot in New York, like I wanted to shoot in New York my whole life. I think New York is more iconic to me, movie and TV wise, than LA is. I know more New York style movies because of the yellow cabs and the buildings and the, you know, that whole style. I probably know more of those than I did LA. So I was always like, I'd love to shoot in New York, and when we got to.
You know, I've had so many actors on this show say that like something about shooting in New York City is, it's, you know, it's the real deal. So, and can you tell us, because I know you play a kind of, he's been described as a Mr. Big-esque character, so the love interest who comes back. Is there going to be a second season? Is it going to carry on? Can you tell us anything?
Well, I mean, yeah, I believe so. I mean, you know how these things go with, you have to wait from the words of, you know, the higher ups, but
yeah,
the way absolutely the way it looks and what they're planning and where they want to go, most definitely. And it'd be wonderful to, you know, to keep exploring that role and see where it goes.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that we get to see it and that we get to see it here. So I'm going to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes, but I would love to be able to take some questions. So if anyone has any questions for Nick, now is your time to send them over. And while we're waiting for the questions to come in, I have a few that were emailed in. But I wanted to ask you, Nick, what is there like a dream role that you're like just wanting to sink your teeth into that you haven't got to do yet? Bob Marley. Because I so see that. I'm like, you've got to do it.
There's a few I would like, biopic wise. Oh, I would love to do something like that. I mean, then again, it's for the people as well to decide. Yeah. Because when you say iconic people, I want it to be right, and I do understand that. But I would love like a Bob Marley whenever they do the movie on Mo Salah, because I'm a Liverpool fan.
Oh yeah. Well,
I can play with my left foot, so yeah. I'd love to be in that contention as well. But yeah, there's a few. You know, I've never really. Hey, maybe one day James Bond. Who knows?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I love action. There's so many roles, you know, that I would love to do. Not even just action. That's the beauty of growing up, you know, and looking at this industry was like, I love rom-coms. I love fantasy. Yeah. So my dream role would be to do something in each of them that was like, you know.
Well, we know in The Princess Switch 3, spoiler alert, Mrs. Donatelli and Kevin run away together. So, of course, we could do Princess Switch 4, our future together. That's a rom-com.
I thought that was what we were doing. You didn't get the contract? Go, I just emailed you the contract. That's where we go.
Yes,
let's go.
Right, there was a question about Shadowhunters that came up. Sorry. Yes. What do you enjoy most about working on Shadowhunters?
Oh, there was a few things. One, the world. You know, like I said, I love fantasy, especially when books create, because the world is. There's so many books. You know, you will get to immerse in this huge, wonderful creation. The people, the crew, the cast, the crew, phenomenal. Beautiful people to work with. I've been very blessed in the projects I've been in. I'd say, yeah, it was a mix of the material and the cast and crew, and then getting to play, you know, Mr. Auditory.
Yeah,
that was a fun role. But you know, to ruffle people's feathers and see their reactions, and you know, it was a fun role.
Yeah, I just see lovely Nat Fox is here saying she doesn't have a question, but I miss you both loads. Oh, Nat.
Oh, Nat, what's up?
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, virtual hugs, Nat. I miss you.
There's a question from Benji. Is there a role or acting job that you have done that you really wish you never did? Oh, and why? That's quite a good question there, Benji.
No, I don't think I've had one where I'm like, oh, I wish I never did that. I mean, there's ones I look back on and I'm like, that was interesting. But I don't think there's one yet. I've been very fortunate. And then you know what? Even if it did, sometimes it takes a mistake to really know what you want. You know, you took a shot, you went in an opportunity that you saw at one point and it didn't work. But so long as you learn and grow, you know, I think everything's a positive. But I don't. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think so far. Maybe there's some auditions that I've done that I wish I never did, but haven't we all?
Haven't we all? Oh my God, I have some twangers that could go down like, oh my God.
We've all had, and they all come flashing back to you as well. You're like, oh my God, that's probably an audition, Benji.
Yeah. Let's take our final live question, and then I've just got 2 written in questions, and then we're going to let you go and get on with your day, my lovely. Oh, Claire. When you were in Vancouver, did you ever do the grouse grind?
Why do I know that? Why did I hear that? I don't know I can't remember. I don't know what that is. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds dirty. Or is that just me? Like, what is it? Is it a dance?
Yeah, no, as I read it again, though, I was like, wait, I thought it was a bar. Not a bar.
Tell us, Claire, what is it? I'm just looking.
I thought it was a place you go and I guess I didn't. And I'm like, yeah, it does sound kind of... Oh, the trail on the mountain. You know what?
It's a mountain trail.
Yes. I did.
Not where I was going.
I don't know if I did that one, but I did an incredible trail there where I got to the Mother Nature still. So we scaled this mountain, and at the top, like the chipmunks and birds and stuff. I actually have a video on my Instagram, like, you can feed them up there in this like picturesque view. It was incredible. Vancouver is mind blowing. Oh, so I don't know the name. Forgive me, Claire. I don't know the name of what I did, but next time, I mean, I know I'll be in Vancouver again. I'll be sure to find this trail that you're talking.
For sure. Right, I have a question here that somebody's written in. Are you a black belt holder in your martial arts? And if so, how long did it take you to get there?
Yeah, I am a black belt in Taekwondo. Yeah, I'm actually trying to go for my second one now. But usually it would take consistent training. It takes about 3 years. But for me, I was going backward and forward to England and my studio was here. It took me six years because I would go, you know, I'd test for a belt, go home, miss the next belt test and come back and, you know, have to catch up to people. So it took me probably 6, but it takes about 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
The good thing about that though is I'd got extra training though. So at the time I would get annoyed because I was like, oh, I'd love to just get my black belt. And it wasn't until the end when I got it where I was like, wow, actually training for longer served me better because I got to put in more work. Yeah.
And how many belts are there? Is it like, so there's
10 different,
10.
Well, yeah, different dojangs, different schools as well. There's different kind of. The good thing about my master was we studied under the Taekwondo umbrella, but he studied everything. We did judo, we did Hapkido, we did bits of Kung Fu. He had tried. So we got to he is a martial artist. So as much as Taekwondo was what I was grounded in, we learned so much other stuff that helped me. Now that I do Muay Thai and I'm studying Jiu-Jitsu. But it was a blessing. But there was 10 belts.
Wow.
10 belts to get to black. And he failed me 3 times on my black belt. So I got it, I think, my 4th go.
Well, if there's anyone who I think can do 10, it's you, Nick. I have faith. The final question is, who are your real life heroes and why?
Wow. Two different sets. My family, and I honestly mean that, my mom and my dad, aunties, uncles. You know, the stories of what they told me growing up and what they had to go through to get to a level to put us on the platform. How can I not be grateful, to have options that I can, I want a career in TV, or, I could choose these things. They couldn't. And what they sacrificed for these things and did it lovingly and willingly and never made us feel any type of resentment for it. I can't help but be incredibly, inspired by that. My older brother, huge inspirations. If I'm talking iconic people when I was growing up, Bruce Lee, Bob Marley, Tupac, Sam Cooke. I love Princess Diana. Just a load of people, people who stood for something more than just, not that you have to, but I just like that some people are like, hey, I'm doing well and I want to spread positivity as well, and they were using the platform they uplifted me. I went through times growing up like everyone does, of light and dark times. And in my dark times, these people were there with sometimes just an interview, just a little bit of words of wisdom that uplifted me to get through whatever I was going through. And I thank them for that.
Yeah. Oh, well, what a perfect note to end on. Thank you for giving us your
so much fun, And I miss you like crazy as well. So it's like this whole time I'm like,
I can't wait.
Do how much laughs we have when we're all together. It's just...
I know, and hopefully we'll be able to meet up before the end of the year. Who knows? Hopefully, even if it's just like this again, we'll have to do something like a Princess Switch virtual party or something.
You have to get all of us on here at one time.
Yes, I love that. I would love
that would be hilarious. maybe closer to when the 3rd one comes out. That'd be fun if a few of us.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That really would. And listen, what you've got going on here is amazing. I've been watching from, and I'd see what you're doing on your socials and stuff, and I'm seeing how it's really growing and people are loving it, and it's testament to who you are as well. So, congratulations on this platform and what's going on, and it doesn't surprise me. You are an absolutely wonderful human being.
Oh, Nick. I'm supposed to be saying that to you. Thank you. I
love like cook food. It's like I've got a huge love for you, and I appreciate. We've spent times in different. We know when you travel with someone, you really get to and being in these different places for so many years as well, and we've met each other's families and
exactly.
It's a blessing, and I'm just happy to have shared those moments, and we need many more.
Oh, I agree. And talk about a blessing. It's been an absolute blessing having you on the show tonight, or this afternoon in your case. Thank you so much for giving us your time so willingly and telling us your wonderful stories and your inspiration. I know you're going to be a megastar. I mean, you are already. It's just like the rest of the world is catching up. So I know, and I can't wait to be on a red carpet somewhere going, I told ya.
You be there right with me. What you talking about, girl?
Oh, I hope so, baby.
Side by side.
And so on that note, everyone, we are going to say goodbye. Thank you again, Nick, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who's tuned in.
Everyone listening, you can hear my...
Hey, your dog's arrived.
He's like, that's enough. Let me out. Let me out.
He's like, I need to go now. A special thank you to everyone who has joined us wherever you are in the world, whether it's the morning or the evening or the afternoon, wherever you may be. Next week is probably going to be the final Hathor Hosts. I can't believe it, 1.5 years of doing this show. I have got the wonderful Tori Higginson is going to be my guest. We are just finalizing dates and times, so do keep checking out my socials for details. Thank you again for giving me your time and for joining us, and I wish you all the most fantastic afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. Lots of love to you all and have a fantastic day. Mwah. Bye, guys.